you can't think about Anthony Shadid and his journalism without thinking about ethics. He brought integrity to every decision he made. I think every word he wrote. It was a powerful part of who he was as a reporter. So this is exactly the right way to celebrate his legacy.
This award means so much to me for so many different reasons. Having been to multiple Anthony Shadid Award ceremonies throughout the years and seeing the incredible work that journalists are doing to hold themselves to high standards of ethics and practice that my dad would have really admired.
For weeks after one of the nation's deadliest school shootings, the public and the grieving community of Uvalde were told a story of police heroism, that police acted in a way that quickly subdued the gunman inside the elementary school. But we began hearing more and more and learning more and more that that was not entirely the case. Ultimately, about 2 months after the shooting, we were able to obtain a hallway video from inside Robb Elementary School that showed the breakdown of police that day and how it took more than an hour for them to finally storm the classroom and take down the gunman. Once we obtained the video, we really had to navigate what I call an ethical and editorial minefield. There were a series of questions that we had to all come together to try to navigate, including, for example, whether or not we would show a gunman walking down the hallway of an elementary school carrying an AR-style 15 weapon.
Words of Conviction was a series investigating a new junk science called 911 call analysis. We found it became pervasive across the justice system, and we were reporting on the different institutions, agencies, from prosecutors to the FBI to the courts that had promoted and enabled it. And we also reported on the people who it had been used against. We were writing about really kind of harrowing, often traumatic experiences for people. We had to write about these cases after the fact, often writing about the defendant or the suspect or the accused. And we had to really kind of thread a needle and stick to the evidence that we had in front of us in order to portray those people accurately, while also remaining conscientious of the fact that somebody had died, somebody had been hurt.
This story was really about a search for answers and accountability. And it's also a story about the legacy of trauma that America left behind in Afghanistan. And it's told by Afghans who never had their losses acknowledged. Everyone was facing different risks to talk to me for this story. And the families of the victims and the eyewitnesses and the survivors faced huge risks to come forward and talk to me, as did the soldiers who were going on these operations. So it took a lot of thought and planning to consider how to meet people where they had the space to feel safe to tell their stories.
So this project, State of Hate, was all about taking a closer look at really a dark side of our Sunshine State. But the reality is we have a growing number of hate crimes, and there was a lot of Floridians that were part of the January 6th insurrection that are now being prosecuted. One of the biggest things that we had to overcome is whether we were going to do this series at all, whether we would have the support of our whole team and management to go forward with a series that there could be concerns about whether it is divisive. For us, the biggest thing was we don't want to give a platform to people that are looking for one to spew hate and create further divide. So our challenge was, How do we let people know what is going on and what can be done to stop this and to speak out about it without, again, giving those people a platform?
Associated Press had a team of 3 journalists in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. They were the last international journalists there. And as the city was surrounded by Russian forces, we started realizing that this was going to be a pivotal moment in the war and reporting accordingly. I was the reporting partner outside of the city, and the 3 of them were inside.
Reporting is difficult. Reporting in your own country is even more difficult. It's connected to many emotional and ethical challenges for international journalists. First of all, you have always to keep in mind the perspective, the international perspective, wider perspective, and to try to stay focused and objective. Try to show all points of views, try to not get yourself emotionally into reporting. However, I think a good reporting still requires an emotional involvement, a human emotional involvement. Also, you always have to balance and think about all the people you meet, and sometimes you just need to drop the camera and just help them.
As someone who loves this profession, it's very rewarding to serve on a committee that takes this charge so seriously. My individual role is actually pretty small, but collectively, hopefully we play a major role in helping to preserve the legacy of Anthony Shadid, who took the high standards of reporting, writing, and interviewing to a whole nother level.
It was such an exciting experience to serve on the Shadid Committee because it offered a chance to look at some of the best journalism in our industry right now, while also getting to dig into the behind-the-scenes work, which isn't something that's always apparent from what you see on a website, what you see on a print page.
I think one of the most important things about Anthony's legacy is that he gave voice to people who were not otherwise being heard. I always like to tie that to his time here on the UW-Madison campus, because he once told me he found his voice here, and he gave that voice to others. He used it so powerfully.